Fast X is out, which means I guess I gotta review this thing. So as always, guys, this video will have spoilers. So if you don't want spoilers, head over to my shorts or my TikTok to check out my one-take movie review on this movie. But without further ado, be sure to like, subscribe, comment, get your Eazy Apparel at shopeasyapparel.com, and let's talk about this movie, Fast X. Alright, so where do I even start with this movie? Well, it's a Fast and Furious movie, and that's kind of all you need to know. It's utterly ridiculous, and the laws of physics don't exist in this movie. I mean, the first action sequence is pretty much Dom playing soccer with a bomb, using his car, but hey, let's just get into what this movie's about. So in this movie, Jason Momoa's character Dante is coming after Dom and his team who are responsible for his father's death. Now it's up to Dom to protect those he loves as Dante comes for his revenge. Alright, let's get into the good. And now there wasn't much good in this movie, but there were still a couple things that I did like about this movie. So easily the best part of this movie was Jason Momoa as the villain. He really went all out for this role, and it was just really entertaining to watch him on screen. He stole the show in every scene he was in, and honestly, you could tell that he was just having so much fun playing this role. His character was way over the top, which I guess is pretty fitting for a Fast and Furious movie, but he was a really funny character and just a lot of fun to watch. He also had this dark side where he just really didn't care who he killed or how he did it. I mean, he tried to blow up the Vatican in the very first action sequence of this movie, and honestly, that just made him even better. The next good thing, and this was kind of unexpected, but John Cena was awesome in this movie. He went on this journey with Dom's son, and the two of them together were just really entertaining. Plus, I have to say, his character was way different in this movie. In F9, he was super serious and dark and brooding and all that. But in this movie, he was more of like what you would expect from John Cena. Just a funny, like laid back, just really goofy character. But I do think we need to address that Dom's son, who was like 10 to 13 years old, was just like straight up murdering people in this cannon car they were in, which I thought was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. But they kind of just glossed over a kid killing a bunch of guys. Now let's get into the so-so. And I only really have one thing here, partly because I have so many things in the bad, but we'll get to that in just a second. So for the so-so, I have the story. Now, I thought the story between Dante and Dom was honestly pretty solid, and it was really personal, which made it really intriguing as well. But all the other things going on, the side stories and the subplots, just kind of took away from that. There were just so many things going on with so many characters in this movie that there really wasn't a coherent story outside of Dom and Dante. I mean, at times I really felt like I was watching like 4 or 5 movies all wrapped into one. I mean, they were bringing back old characters through cameos, which I really didn't think they needed to do. And it also didn't feel like they knew what to do with Tej, Roman, and Ramsey, as they were just kind of off doing their own thing, I guess trying to get back to Dom, but it just really felt like they didn't know what to do with those characters. You also had Letty trying to escape jail pretty much this whole movie with Cypher, and it was just a mess, and it felt like some of these side stories were just pointless in the end. Alright, let's get into the bad. Now, this is a Fast and Furious movie, so I could probably go on and on for days on all the bad in this movie, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna try to keep it as short as possible, so buckle up, no pun intended, and let's get into this bad. First up, as I said before, this movie has way too much going on. At some points in this movie, it really just felt like a big, gigantic montage of clips as we jumped around from character to character and what they were doing. And sometimes we'd spend so much time on a group of characters that I would completely forget what the other characters were up to once we got back to them. And next up, and you probably saw this coming, but the sheer ridiculousness of this movie is... oh my... I don't know. It's crazy. Oh my gosh. I could probably make a whole video on how ridiculous some of the things happened in this movie were, but I'm gonna try to summarize for the sake of keeping this video under 3 hours. Now, I will admit this one was not as ridiculous in the terms of the stunts they pulled off as F9, but it still had its moments where I just had to sit back, look at the screen, and laugh at just what I just saw. First, I'm convinced Dominic Toretto has superpowers because some of the ways he got out of some of the situations he was in was just stupid. I'll say it. It was just dumb. He was pretty much playing Rocket League with a bomb in the beginning of this movie and then just kept casually took out 2 helicopters only using his car. And don't even get me started on him lifting and flipping a car with 1 arm. Yeah, 1 arm. I guess all I'm asking for in these Fast and Furious movies, or in the next 2 I think we're getting, is that we just pump in a little bit of realism. That's all I want. And maybe next time he uses 2 arms to pick up the car. I don't know. Just make it more believable, please. All right, let's just move on to the next thing, because as I said before, I could talk about how ridiculous this movie is all day long, but we gotta move on. Next up, and I just had to bring this up, I mean, I know there's going to be fighting in a Fast and Furious movie, but some of these fights just felt forced and really out of place in my opinion. Especially that fight between Letty and Cypher. Now, it was a cool fight, but the way they got to it was just weird. They were working together to get out of this jail, and Cypher was like, hey, we got like 4 minutes until, I don't know, these guards wake up, or essentially they get figured out for trying to escape. And Letty was like, oh, that's just enough time, and then proceeds to fight her, which really didn't make sense because they only had 4 minutes to get out anyway. And I get these 2 characters have bad blood from the previous movies, but this fight just felt out of place and weird, and I felt like we could have got there in a different way. Next up for the bad, I have the ending. Now, this movie kind of felt like I watched half a movie, and I get that they're leading into a part 2, or I guess part 3 according to Vin Diesel, but nothing was really resolved in this movie. It got to the climax of this movie, and then I mean this when I say this, it just cut off abruptly. Like, it just cut. That was it. We got that mid-credit scene with The Rock, and we move on to part 2. And I just thought that was kind of weird. It felt really weird in my opinion. I just felt like this movie could have resolved at least one thing and then set up something for the next part. And finally, for the bad, is that this movie kind of tried to be deep and it just didn't work because of how ridiculous this movie is. And I guess for me, this kind of has to do with the dialogue. It just felt at some points they were trying to be really deep and dramatic and emotional. And when you're dealing with a movie like this that's super over the top and really ridiculous, it's really hard to take those moments seriously, and it just didn't work at all for me. I know this is Fast and Furious and they're kind of known for doing that, but the drama they tried to cook up just didn't work for me. But to sum it all up, if you look critically at this movie, it sucks. But if you look at it as a Fast and Furious movie, it's still not the best, but it does have its moments. Jason Momoa is the highlight and brought a lot of entertainment to this movie, but other than that, this movie was just messy and all over the place. But those are my thoughts on the movie Fast X. Be sure to let me know what you thought of the movie down in the comments, and as always, be sure to like, subscribe, comment, get your Eazy Apparel at shopeasyapparel.com. God bless, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.